Let's bring in my boy Tone.
Oh, Sills, I love you, man.
I'm sending that chick out of town, man. That's it. I'm done. You're on it. Yeah, I'm not even giving you a plane fare. I'm giving you a Greyhound, and I'm giving you a one-way ticket. Wherever you want to go, man, just get me, get out. I'll mail your shit in little shoe boxes.
You know, there seems to be this campaign about trying to justify that loss
Completely.
and justify why Dak Prescott looked the way he looked, why that defense looked the way they looked, and these are the signs of a team these are the signs of a team that's dying a slow death. They are literally pointing so many fingers at each other. The DBs are pointing at the D line, and the D line's pointing at the quarterback. The quarterback is the only person that's actually been quiet and handled it like a man is Dak Prescott. He's the only person that actually handled it like a man. He even said in his press conference, and I'm paraphrasing, of course, we didn't see that coming. I didn't expect to get my ass beat like that. You know what I mean? Like I'm paraphrasing, of course, and I'm adding a little spice, but like that whole organization is quite frankly a joke, and it's impossible to take them serious in a serious situation.
If I were him, and for him to win a Super Bowl, he's got to get out of there. If he wants to win, get this. Whatever, like he needs to go to some situation like San Francisco, like
Yeah.
a place where you have really good men. I'll tell you what, that could be great if it wasn't for Jalen in Philly. Places that have, you know, where else he would be great? Pittsburgh.
Oh,
A
that'd be
place
interesting.
like the Steelers with Mike Tomlin.
That would be
Something
interesting.
like that. You're in a place that, get this, it's going to be calmer.
Or imagine Dak in Tennessee.
If
With the
Vrabel's there, if
if
he
he's yeah,
still
yeah,
if
if he's
he
there.
still stays there, that's another place.
Right, right. I mean, it's you know I say this all the time, right? You know, it's easy to rip Dak because he's a cowboy. But if Dak wasn't a cowboy, I like Dak
I
Prescott.
like
You know what I
that
mean?
too.
But you know, he's a cowboy, so by proxy, I have to hate him.
Absolutely. All right. What you make of my comment about Jalen running more? And I mean not running more than what he did against the Rams, but between 11 and 15, something like in there. Because to me, Tone, when I watch him and that threat of him running like that,
Mhm.
I fear him more in third and long on the run than I do third and long in the pass. Because when he does that, you can't get off the field when you've got that one innate ability to be able to move the chains that a lot of guys don't have. And like I said earlier, is he one of the top 3 talents? When you watch guys play in the NFL, shit, man, everybody doesn't think that. You know what I think though about this kid? I think this: if you had to win a ball game, would he be one of the top 3 guys that you would want in your football team to win a game against any of the other guys in the league? He would be. I think that's all you need to have. He's one of the top, he'd be one of the 3 quarterbacks that I would pick to win a football game in the league. And that has nothing sometimes to do with all the gifts of being an arm thrower like Aaron Rodgers. Look at Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady. You couldn't have 2 more polar opposite athletes.
Yeah, you bring up a good point. You know, in the offseason, I spoke about this. I think the other day with you. Um, I was one of those people that were campaigning for him to run a little bit less. Last season, through 15 games, he was averaging about 11 rush attempts per game. I'm not sure what he's averaging this year, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's around that same number.
I think
But
it's 10. He's got 55 now, so it's at 10 right now.
yeah, okay, that's about right, about 11, 10.
10,
Okay,
yeah, 11.
so he's pretty much doing the exact same thing. Um, but yeah, where I am with Jalen Hurts now, I'm past the point of, you know, we need to protect this guy. It clearly affects his game where he's trying too hard to play the game safe. It clearly affects his mentality. It makes him gun shy, right? For
Yeah.
some, you know how some guys they needed. Okay, you played the game, right? You ever felt like you needed to take that one good hit before you're ready to really get things going? You know what I mean? Like it's
Especially
just
after I got hurt. I wanted to be in there. I wanted to get hit. I'll tell you this, my first NFL game against the Chicago Bears and Walter Payton, I couldn't believe it. I took a wham play and I go, I'm ready. Here we go. Okay, now I got the game speed.
But that's what I
you're
mean,
ready to
right?
run. No, because you know what happens when you get hit like that? All right, it's big boy ball. Got to get my ass down a little lower. I got to get some leverage on this because it's going to be big boy ball here. Yeah. So,
it
does
buying
happen
that.
like that.
I'm buying that. You know, like my thing is with Jalen, I want Jalen to play Jalen Hurts football. At the end of the day, the Philadelphia Eagles know it. They know his playing style. They've seen it for 2 years before they decided to pay him. They know what he is. They know what they bought. So my thing is, why hamper that? Why stop that? Why limit that? I'm all in on him playing the game the way he plays the game. Whatever happens, happens. We have to live with the results because this is the journey that we signed up for, right? You can't go to a store, make a purchase, know what you're buying, and then have buyer's remorse. You know what I mean? Like you can't. We got to let Jalen Hurts cook and let him do his thing. If he has a 10-year career in Philadelphia and he gets a Super Bowl out of it, hey, listen, he won for me. That's how I look at it, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Any quarterback that comes through this organization, because unfortunately, I don't feel like the Philadelphia Eagles have had the greatest luck with quarterbacks. There are some organizations that have had quarterbacks for 20 years, like the Green Bay Packers, right? They've had 2 quarterbacks in the past 30 years, right? So the Philadelphia Eagles, I feel like over the past few years, I feel like we've been trying to figure out that guy that truly gets it. You know what I mean? Like really think about the Eagles quarterback history. Who's the last quarterback to play for the Philadelphia Eagles that truly understood the culture, what it takes, and that was really willing to lay it out on the line? Probably Jaworski, maybe Michael Vick because he was brought in. But overall, Jalen Hurts, what he brings to the table, you don't want to stop that. You don't want to put a muzzle on that, right? Let that guy cook. Let Jalen Hurts listen. Like you said, if Jalen Hurts is giving me 275 passing yards, 50 rushing yards, that's his game. That's his game.
Stop that.
You can't. You have to game plan. And then on top of that, you add in A.J. Brown, Dallas Goedert, DeAndre Swift, Devontae Smith. You add in all those weapons with that offensive line, they're damn near indefensible. Let Jalen Hurts be Jalen Hurts. That's where I'm at with it.
You think Matthew Stafford was a success with the Rams?
Yeah. They got a Super Bowl out of it. Yeah. Hell yeah.
So you got 2 years potentially of shitty football, 1 good year, and a Super Bowl year.
Matthew Stafford.
That's a success.
Listen, he could not win another game for them.
Right.
Because think about how hard the Rams have been fighting prior to that, right? They always came so close. The Rams have been one of the most dominant teams over the past 5 years prior to Stafford, right? During the Golf McVay era, right? They were always in the mix and they always came so close, but no cigar. You make that trade for Matthew Stafford the first year he wins your Super Bowl, whatever happens after that, hey, you got to pay the tab at some point and you live with the results, man.
I actually think they're getting better too, and I think they're going to be okay by the end of the year. I don't know what
I think so.
means.
They're just young. They're really young. They're really young, and they lack a lot of talent on that deep. I think the Rams are ahead of schedule, and if they have another good draft under their belt, I think the Rams will be right back in the mix.
Absolutely, so do I. An early look at this Jets-Eagles game.
Yes,
I circled this part of the game here, Tone, where I think this could come down to because it's something that you and I kind of talked about a little bit after the Patriot game that Monday when we were talking about tight ends. And maybe even I think that Friday going into the Patriot game, we both went like this. Yeah, Hunter Henry and the other Patriot tight end and Mac Jones, they may not be stars, but then you brought up the point. You said this, you went, yeah, but Zach Cunningham and Nicholas Morrow are lesser than those guys. So to me, here's where I think it comes down to with this Jets game. Again, for it to be a chance for the Jets to keep it close, is that are the Eagles going to be able to put 2 weeks in a row, actually 4 quarters in a row of playing good pass defense against a very shitty pass offense? Now, would I say that New England is a better passing attack than the Jets? I would. Do I think Mac Jones is a better quarterback than Zach Wilson? I do. Mm-hmm. I saw Zach Wilson have a pretty good game against Kansas City. He's hot and cold.
Very.
And to me, here's where this sets up. So are you going to play press coverage? Or are you going to give that guy and that kid, hey, Tone, I don't care how bad you are. If you give a guy a 10-yard cushion, Ian Book could complete
pitch and
that.
catch.
It's pitch and catch, dude. So I'm going to be interested in to see how that dynamic plays out, because everyone's going to go, we're going to kill Zach Wilson. Well, wait a minute. How are you killing someone with a 10-yard cushion off the ball?
Right.
We're going to blitz. Okay. So what if he goes into rhythm throwing like Sam Howell did against the Eagles? How are you going to defend that? Your guys are off the ball.
Right. I think
this is the philosophy thing here for me. How are they going to handle that dynamic? Are you going to get up on the line? Are you going to walk back? Are you bringing pressure? I think they're going to do a lot of hitch passes right out of the gate. I'm talking Jets.
Yeah, the Jets, they understand their offensive line is in shambles. They're going to have a similar game plan to what who did the Eagles play that got that ball out really, really quickly? It was what game was that?
Washington.
It was the Commanders. Yes, Washington, yes. They're going to try to mimic that to a certain extent, right? They're going to try to limit our possessions. They're going to try to get that ball out as quick as they possibly can. So you're going to see a lot of quick slants. You're going to see a lot of crossing routes. You're going to see a lot of, throws to the flat. You're going to see them trying to get that ball out of his hands and getting him in rhythm and getting him confident. But here's the thing, right? What happens when things get off schedule? What happens when you have to deviate from the plays that you scripted, right? What happens when you have to deviate from that? I think this game I think the Eagles pull away in the third quarter. But you brought up a good point. The Eagles, especially those DBs, you have to have those guys putting pressure on those wide receivers, right? I think that, as a matter of fact, I wouldn't be surprised if Sean Desai doesn't blitz at all in this game. You have the front four to dominate that offensive line, right? They're missing their starting right guard. Mekhi Becton is a joke. They're missing their starting left tackle and Dwayne Brown. That offensive line had problems before they even got hurt, right? So a guy like Zach Wilson, the moment you get hands and feet on him a couple times, this game's he's going to unravel. So I think this game is won and lost in the trenches. But on top of that, I think the Philadelphia Eagles have to limit the cushion that they provide to those wide receivers, so Zach Wilson can't even begin to feel confident or comfortable in that game.
How about this though? You say pull away. What game have they pulled away?
That's a good point.
Bucks?
That's a very good point. But I look at it like this, though. That's a very good point. I look at it like this. This offense is slowly but surely starting to figure out what they're trying to accomplish, right? There were many boxes.
You took that much away from that second half. Actually, that's not fair. That offense I thought was a four-quarter. I thought it was 4 quarters.
So again, like I'm looking at it like this, right? Week 1, week 2, week 3, we had many questions about what this offensive pass attack, right? We finally saw it open up a little bit in the second half in the Washington game. And then the Rams matchup comes and you see the pass and you see them dealing, throwing the ball all over the place. A.J. Brown, Dallas Goedert, DeAndre Swift. You saw them using the entire field and using every blade of grass and using all the weapons at their disposal. Again, Jalen Hurts is starting to become more comfortable in his offense with this coordinator. And the passing attack is only becoming more and more lethal. I think they're starting to figure it out. They had many boxes to check early on in the season. The last box they need to check is the red zone efficiency. I think they solved that this week.
How about this? So if you're the Jets and they have the linebackers to cover Dallas Goedert here, you think it's going to – I think that one of the objections or one of the objects for them to be able to take away is going to be Dallas Goedert.
They got to prove it, though.
They're going to want to take him and put a guy on him and have him line up on him. And they're going to try to take that dynamic because the one thing that changed that whole look of that offense was him. And if they see that, there's no question that Robert Saleh is going to see that, and they're going to put their most talented linebacker on him, that kid Mosley, and they're going to line him up. I'm not saying that Dallas can't beat him. Right. I'm saying it's going to be a more difficult time getting the ball to him, and they're going to make him have to take and try to find a way to move the chain. Now, does that mean more Swift? Does that mean AJ?
I'm glad you said that.
Again, looking over to Devontae.
Think about it like this, right? They can't stop the run.
Is Dallas Goedert's got to be stopped.
Think about it like this. The Jets can't stop the run right now.
Can't.
So if you
shocking.
Right. If you put that pressure on them to have to, stack the box. See, here's the thing, right? The way the Eagles play, how much like the amount of weapons they have at their disposal, you got to pick your poison. Do you want them to run you over or do you want them to air it out against you? The Jets are pretty much stuck in a pickle. If I'm guessing, I think the Jets are going to panic and they're going to try to prevent that team from getting a running game started. And it's going to be wide open for everybody else. And also, another thing that I think doesn't get talked about enough, that Denver matchup was a very emotional game for them. There were a lot of things, riding on that matchup, right? I think their emotions were so high off that game. I think they come back down to earth this Sunday.
I just, again, I want to see a full 4 quarters of football on
I agree.
defense. Now, again, do you bring pressure? Do you not bring pressure when you're talking Zach Wilson? Now, look,
I don't start off with pressure. I want to.
Well,
I
here,
want to. I
well,
want to see what my front four does first, and then I'll go from there.
but see, I need to help my corners right now.
Okay.
And do you agree with me what I'm saying about Slade? The reason that they're playing zone is because both those guys ain't playing hot, especially Slade.
Slade and Bradbury haven't had a great start to the season, if you ask me.
Okay, so that means something else too. That means they're maybe playing that because they don't feel pretty comfortable with what they have when it comes to depth, that they're forced to do that. And Tone, that's why teams have been able to hang around. That's why I kind of put a 26-16 number there, because until you show me that you can put teams away, you've got to prove that to me. You know,
I understand.
Most people are saying, they're going, I think this is going to be this. I think this is going to be, well, this is who you are as of right now. Now, look, we saw things go in the second half, and I agree with you. I was like this. The play calling was really good. The defensive play calling was even better. There were great signs against, and what I loved about it was it's Raheem Morris and Sean McVay you're doing this against.
And that was the biggest part for me. It's because we questioned whether this team could be, can outcoach Sean McVay. But we talked about that prior to that.
Absolutely.
In the first half, we got nervous. The second half, you saw Sean decide doing things, and McVay
I was shocked.
Didn't have an answer. I was blown away. So that tells me, okay, there's something there with this guy Sean Desai. You mentioned it earlier in the show. He's doing more with less.
Absolutely.
Jonathan Gannon would have ran to the principal's office and say, "Listen, man, I need some more guys, man. I can't handle this." Sean Desai said, "Listen, y'all do your job, I'll do mine. My job is to coach these guys and put them in the best possible position to succeed." He watched that first half and said, "You know what? I'm not liking what I'm seeing. I'm not liking what I'm doing. Let me tweak some things, right?" And things got back in motion.
Let me throw some names at you here. And I'll throw this out to everyone else a little bit later here.
Okay.
When it comes to, here are some names of people that are going to be in the market when it comes to potential October 31st movement. Would you have any interest in Jerry Jeudy, Cortland Sutton, or the Broncos safety Justin Simmons?
I'm looking more at, well, the safety, yes, I'm very interested in that, right? I'm looking more towards Jeremy Chin, the other safety with the Broncos, Kareem Jackson. He's a veteran, older guy. I think he's older than the other safety that you mentioned from the Broncos. But I think the Eagles do need to add, they need a safety. If they can get their hands on either one of those three guys, I think the Philadelphia Eagles will be in business. I'm curious to see what the Bradley Roby move does in the long term. I need to see a couple more games out of him to see, what that really looks like. The perfect game to actually really pay attention to how Bradley Roby really fits in will be that Miami game. I don't really think we're going to really find out Bradley Roby, what he's all about in the Jets game. I mean, they're not really a good passing offense at all. So I'm looking forward to see what he does in that Miami matchup, where they're really going to have to pay attention to all those boys on the perimeter. But I think the Eagles do need to target a safety in free agency. I do.
Would you give up a first and a second for Patrick Surtain, who's 23 years old?
Ooh, that is
You're not going to find a corner in next year's draft with more experience, that young. Before you say anything, Tone, he's 23.
Let me see.
The kids in the draft next year, there's some pretty good corners coming in. This guy's a proven Pro Bowler. And if you're who you think you are, you're going to be picking in. So, see, a guy like Chris goes, hell no. Well, let me throw this at you. If you're who you think you are and you're going to win a Super Bowl, it's the 32nd pick in the draft.
Got to go for it. Mm-hmm.
Would you give a 32nd pick up in the draft for a all-pro 23-year-old corner?
Okay, so he's in his rookie contract right now. He's in year 3 of his rookie deal. Since he was drafted in the first round, he gets the 5th-year option. So if the Eagles trade for him, they'll have him for the rest of 2023, 2024, 2025 if they pick up the option, and then they wouldn't have to negotiate until 2026. and then you're going to be losing Slay by then and Bradbury. I actually wouldn't put it past them to do that.
23?
Patrick Surtain is 23 years old. Yes, 23 years old. I actually wouldn't put it past him to do. And when you think about all the variables, right? Like I said, Bradbury and Slade, they're on the back nine, right? As a matter of fact, you can make an argument they're both on like the 17th or the 18th hole, honestly. So when you put it that way, see, it's all about what is. I wouldn't mind making the move. It's all about what the Eagles would give up. Right?
Now, if the Eagles were in the 12th hole or the 13th hole, probably not going there. But if you're going to be one of the better teams,
that's a good point.
NFL,
if you see yourself going to the
you're
Super Bowl,
at the bottom of the draft, Tone, and you're picking 31, 32,
I'll give that up for Patrick.
Are you? It's like the top of the second round.
That's a good point. When you think about it from that perspective, we see Eagles fans. We got to look at it like this. We're not talking about a top 10 overall pick.
Absolutely not.
The Philadelphia Eagles. If we think they're as good as we think they are, they're going to be one of the final two teams to fight for the Super Bowl. So we're talking about a 31st, 32, maybe 30th overall pick, right? Would I give that up for Patrick Surtain the second and the second round pick? And you're talking about a corner that I can have for the next 7, 8 years, 10 years. I would do that. I would do that because a 32nd overall pick is one pick away from a second rounder. I mean, you're basically giving up 2 second rounders for him. So, I mean, I would do that. I would for a corner you're going to have for the next 10 years. I'm doing it. I would do that.
What was the exact exchange for AJ Brown on? Because they gave a 1-up, didn't they?
I'm about to find out right now.
They gave a 1-up for him.
Okay, so here it is. The Philadelphia Eagles and the Tennessee Titans shocked the NFL world when Tennessee shipped off their Pro Bowl wide receiver AJ Brown to the Eagles in exchange for a first and third round pick in the 2022 NFL draft. They got AJ Brown.
What was that pick?
That pick was, to be exact, because that pick became, give me 1 second. It was, all right. It was the 18th overall pick.
So you gave up the 18th overall pick for a guy who's maybe your greatest wide receiver
of all time. Of all time. That's
Prince's, I would, because you will have
first and a third.
And Isaiah Rodgers.
I would pull the trigger on that because the Broncos play the Chiefs this week, and if the Chiefs smack them like we think they should, well, the Chiefs are struggling
Thursday night.
If the Chiefs beat them, the Broncos are going to be huge sellers. If Patrick Surtain's on the table, if I'm the Philadelphia Eagles, I make the call. Now here's the thing though. What do you do after that with Slay and Bradbury? Right? Who's moving? Do you move Bradbury to the slot and then you put Surtain on the outside and then you have him go like how would you make that work?
How about me moving Surtain to the slot and then moving him over, because it's an easier transition in my secondary in the slot to get him on the field quicker than playing corner in a defense that he hasn't played yet. You can plug and play.
You allow him to travel as well in that
slot. That's right. And he's able to be more of a center fielder.
I like where you're going with this, Sills.
And then you get the entire offseason and OTAs to move him back to his natural position.
And you still got the rookie contract at your disposal.
Correct.
We're already anticipating.
And you can franchise him for 2 times on that if you had to.
And on top of that, there's a chance Slay won't even be here next year. I'm actually anticipating this being Slay's last year here.
It is.
So when you think about it from that perspective, you got a corner for the next 10 years. I would do that. And also, what corner can you draft in the first round? Because the Eagles are going to be in the search for a corner in these next couple drafts.
Well, the kid Kool-Aid.
What corner can you draft that's
going to be one of the top kids?
But think about the start.
Dude, I'm not.
Think about the startup cost, right?
Kool-Aid versus Patrick Surtain, and he's 23, and the other guy's 21. No dice. That guy's an all-pro.
Yeah. Honestly, I'm pulling the trigger because there's no corner I can draft that's going to be ready to do what I need. What Patrick Surtain can do for me right now. So I would make that move. Again, a 32nd overall, 31st, 30th overall pick for Patrick Surtain. I'm pulling that trigger.
See, here's what Denver then though is going to look at it as. They're going to want it as a contingency pick because they're going to go like this. What if the Eagles do finish and they win the Super Bowl? That pick becomes the 32nd pick. Mm-hmm. There's got to potentially maybe even be, hey, personally,
they may want to play.
Denver may want 2 1s or maybe 2 2s. a 1, 2, and a 3 plus a player or something because
that might be
dude,
too steep for Howie. 2
we're not
ones.
talking about Houston here.
That might be too steep for Howie. 2 ones.
Yeah, but is that a premium position that Howie spends money on? And
he's shown that he does.
It is.
He's shown. You're right. The Eagles spend money on quarterback. They spend money on left tackle. Well, O-line. They spend money on O-line.
And he's a premium player.
See, I know what I would do, but what would we got to think how would Howie make this move?
But
right?
See, I'm staying in a sandbox, like you said, edge rusher, corners, wideouts. He'll spend money and assets,
and the move gives him flexibility. And if you if you anticipate yourself being contenders, trading first overall, trading a first round pick, and if you're expected to be in the 30s. Is it really that much of a loss? Are you willing to? Is Howie Roseman willing to sacrifice 2 first-round picks over the next 2 years for Patrick Surtain? I think he would.
How about this too? Help me out on this one. You know, some people that are watching us right now are under the impression Surtain is worth the top 10 pick. Absolutely. I would say this to you. Some people are valuing that 32nd pick more so than Patrick Surtain. That's a freaking joke. That's not even remotely close. Name me a cornerback that Howie Roseman has ever drafted.
Good point. Howie Roseman has not. That's even more to your point, right? The Philadelphia Eagles have not had good luck in terms of drafting corners. As a matter of fact, the last corner that they drafted in the first round that was worth anything was Lito Shepherd, and even then, people still felt like he was overdrafted. So, if we're basing this off of the Philadelphia Eagles history,
and how long ago did Lito Shepherd play?
That was like in the 2000s, man. So that's a while ago. You know what I mean?
So we're talking almost 18 years ago.
Yeah. Honestly, if we're basing this off of Howie Roseman's trajectory and the moves he's made, I wouldn't put it past him to trade, to trade for another corner.
And he's an SEC guy.
And he's an SEC guy, and he has the Alabama connection with Devontae Smith and those boys. So that's an interesting move. I'm willing to do it.
The 32nd pick. Probably because Denver, here's where Denver is with this right now. Denver's probably going to get either the second, could potentially even get the first pick, depending if they put up the white flag or not. If they get killed by Kansas City, I think the U-Hauls are backed up. And I think they're going to back up a lot of these guys. This guy, Justin Simmons, he's a really good football player, dude. He can play. He's a good-looking safety, too. I'd be not adverse to try to do something to try to move that guy. But the thing with Surtain here, hey, man, here's the 32nd pick. That means they'll have 32 and 2. You could maybe even parlay that 32nd into another top 15 pick somehow with a trade of another player like maybe Jerry Jeudy. And you could get yourself 3 ones. Because here's the problem, Tone, with Denver. They're not taking a quarterback. Do you know that Russell Wilson's escalators haven't even kicked in yet? They kick in next year, which means you have 3 years of unbelievable dead cap money that approaches $70 million a year on the cap for you cannot move off of him. Drafting Caleb Williams is fool's gold thinking. You have to put as many talented players, and then 2 years out, you're going to have to learn to live with this guy. Draft a guy down the road here because you're not going to draft a quarterback. You got to have guys play now if you're Sean Payton. You know, Sean Payton could do this too, Tone. Hey, I never signed that deal. The general manager, when you go to the owner, I never signed that deal with this guy. This wasn't my guy. You brought me in here to clean this shit up. Okay.
That's a good point. Let's find out the details of that deal, right? So, whoa, they are stuck. Okay, so they have a potential out in 2026 with a dead cap hit of $31.2 million. That's the bet. And then
what year is that?
2026. You're right. 3 years. They're stuck with this guy for 3 years.
Of having to eat all that. Look at the money that it's a cap hit on. Tell the folks what the cap hit is on Denver.
Okay, so I'm going to tell you the dead cap hits, right? In 2023, if they decided to part ways with him now, they have a $107 million cap hit. Dead cap hit.
on a $218 million cap payroll.
If they parted ways with him in 2024, $85 million cap hit. If they parted ways with him in 2025, a $49.6 million cap hit. And then in 2026, it drops to 31.2. In 2027, 12.8. So they really don't have a potential out until 2026. They're stuck with this guy for 3 years.
And that's why they need to make moves to get first rounders right now. And they've got to get the most for guys like Patrick Surtain. You're probably keeping him because he's probably a centerpiece on your team moving forward. But if people are offering ones to you and twos and threes, the only way they're going to save that thing is getting high-end draft choices 1, 2, and 3. That's how you're going to turn that thing around because the quarterback situation, look what happened. Do you understand, Tone? And I don't think the people in Philadelphia understand this. This could be you.
You know what's so interesting about it too, man?
Because get this, how he constructed that same deal you read to me, the same deal that you just read was constructed for him. He vetoed it. The Philadelphia Eagles could easily be right now the Denver Broncos.
That's a good point. And also, we can't overlook how desperate the Broncos may be right now. Think about it like this. They gave up so many assets, so many first-round picks to bring in Russell Wilson. I think they're willing to take any first rounders that they can get. So
and for the coach, they had to give New Orleans one. Hey, Christopher, don't forget Smith and Surtain will need to get paid the same year. Hard to do that with O-line getting paid along with AJ. Yeah, but here's the thing, Christopher.
Interesting, Chris. That's interesting.
But here's the thing. You can also franchise tag Patrick Surtain. You can tag him. You don't have to give him you could give him 1 year you could give him little bumps and bonuses like that, depending on how important the kid is to you. By the way, if I got a guy like Patrick Surtain, I'm going to pay that guy. If I could pay Darius Slay $18 million, Tone, think about this. If I'm going to pay Darius Slay $18 million when I first brought him here, or $16 million, I'm going to pay Patrick Surtain 22 at 23. He's a better player than Slay. He's a better player than Slay ever was.
Surtain is amazing, man. You know, I'm looking at it like this too. I mean, he did bring up a good point about the fact that, you know, they're going to have to pay some people around that time. But they're going to have to pay Landon Dickerson too. So
and Devontae.
Landon, Devontae. This is really interesting. That's why I think
Swift.
Even though Patrick Surtain is a dream, I think they're more likely to go for a safety. Just because if they did trade for,
they need a corner, dude. A corner has to be a priority in that April draft.
This is going to be so interesting to see how it plays out because Harry Roseman definitely has some work to do. But the way the Jalen Hurts contract is set up, they're going to have some flexibility, and the Dallas Goedert contract is going to expire soon. I'll be honest, Sills. I really don't know what they're going to do, but I think they're going to go after a guy who maybe 1 year left in their deal that they can get rid of after the fact. Surtain, as much as I would like that move, it seems a little tricky.
How about this, Tone? You put a guy like Surtain, though, in your back end.
No, I'm with you. I would love to have Surtain.
Doesn't that push you even further away from the Cowboys?
That's a good point. And also, Dirty D brought up a good point as well. They did sign that corner that's going to be available next year. So
you got Isaiah Rodgers and Patrick Surtain replacing those two guys, and those two young players are going to be there for the next 7+ years. And you got lockdown corners, and you got corners this time that ain't going to play just zone, that could get up in your grill and play press coverage and help your – I'm telling you, man, a 32nd pick. I can't believe Eagle fans look at the 32nd pick and look at Howie's history at drafting corners like he's been great at it. He has blown at two things, wide receivers and corners. He hit Devontae, but every other wide receiver that he's drafted has been a train wreck.
Yeah, and I look at it like this too. The Philadelphia Eagles, we're in the business of Super Bowls right now. So
are you?
The way I see it, we got anything is expendable from a draft perspective. I'm trying to win the Super Bowl right now. So if I can get a player that can change the entire complexion of my defense, I got to do that. I think Harry Rosen was looking at it like this. The same thing he did last year with Ndamukong Suh and all those boys. He knew that I need to make a move. Robert Quinn, even though we didn't really get much out of him, he's looking at it like I need to make a move to push myself. Think about the 49ers. They traded for CMC last year. They knew they were that close. I wouldn't put it past Howie to make a home run move like that. I would not, because he's looking at this defense and he sees the weaknesses. The weaknesses is in the DB room. He's going to make a move. It's either going to be a safety or a corner.
Absolutely. Tone, great stuff, my friend.
Absolutely, my man. I appreciate you as always, sir.
Thank you very much. That's our good friend, Tone. Absolutely. Hey, guys, do me a favor. Make sure you go to our good friends at Hooters in the Northeast area, man. NortheastHooters.com. Thank you guys so much for being the official title sponsor of the National Football Show with Big Sills. We so appreciate it. Look, 40-year tradition that we've been involved with all those years. We know pretty much everybody at the company. We love them, man. If you don't want to go into any one of the locations, get HootersToGo.com. Go right there on the app. They'll bring the food out to you. The iconic Hooter girls will bring that out to you, man. Fantastic stuff. If you want to go in, do me a favor. Try some of the great 40-year traditions. Buy 10 wings, get 10 boneless free. How about Wing Wednesdays, man? 1983, all you can eat. Kids eat for free on Saturdays. Go to NortheastHooters.com. That's NortheastHooters.com to find one of the great locations nearest to you. Fall football and Hooters. What a better time right now. When you go in, do me a favor, tell them Big Sil sent you.
Football and Hooters, the